Hope you're having a pleasant day. I am hanging out in our little tent that we've got outside. We set it up for the kids and myself to enjoy on the occasional night. It is definitely due for coming down after a thorough cleaning. Last night, I did my live presentation of the Applied Ethics of Medical Mandates course, and I did live stream to YouTube. Unfortunately, with my technology I had available, I couldn't also show my screen. Otherwise, I would have just done it on the YouTube platform. But I did it on Google Meets, and anyway, it seemed to go pretty well. People that did attend enjoyed it, and I going through getting ready for the course yesterday because I developed my slides quite a number of months ago and have been revisiting the topic lately in preparation for last night. And it's pretty clear that medical mandates aren't done. In fact, there are new discussions that have been brought up, most recently, of course, monkeypox, and what kinds of vaccinations should be promoted for all people, including monkeypox, although the targeting has been for one particular group in that case, as it should be. With that said, medical mandates are not done, and they are going to be continued to be utilized as a political football in the future. So as I was teaching my course and getting into the presentation, a realization came upon me of how passionate we need to remain about this topic, because we've seen the effectiveness of not only medical mandates, but the propaganda around a certain disease, how effective we've seen it be in guiding people's behavior, whether that's their behavior related to how they approach going out, what kind of medical care they receive, how they approach their relationships, whether they go to church or not. So we've seen, unfortunately, a lot of negative consequences from the push for mandates in certain areas. And I'm not just talking about only getting the shot, because there are other ramifications, other mandates that occurred, like public closures of certain avenues for getting out in the community. I talked last night about skate parks being closed in California during the height of the pandemic. They actually filled skate parks with sand to prevent people from getting in. Good luck on getting all that sand out, by the way. And I'm sure I'm not by any means expert in the area of skating, but sand under your wheels does not exactly sound very safe. And I can only imagine what that's like for the skate parks now that they've reopened. Did they get all the sand out? Are they safe for the skaters to use? So anyway, going over the topic again last night was a good experience for me. And if you do watch that live stream, just keep in mind it starts at about 30 minutes into the live stream, where I get into the content of the course. You can also refer to my videos several months back. I have 8 sections on medical mandates. That's my rough draft version. It's a little polished up now, a little bit more cohesive, and I've thought about the topic a lot more. And of course, things have changed too in that time frame, and we even have more data available to us now to suggest that the ethical principle of veracity, which means truth telling, has been violated even more than we thought at the time I put my slides together. So you might be interested in the fact that just the other day, apparently, Dr. Anthony Fauci was again brought before the Senate to answer questions, most specifically from Senator Rand Paul, who's been one of his greatest critics. By the way, I have a slight retraction to make. I had said before that Rand Paul has a history of being an obstetrician. That's not the case. By history, he's an optometrist, or not optometrist, ophthalmologist. He's an MD, so he was an ophthalmologist practicing. And I believe he does keep his license current, and I don't know if he still sees any patients here and there to keep himself actively involved. But he is a medical doctor by background, so he's got a level of expertise that lets him evaluate some of the things that Anthony Fauci has promoted that not all of us are privy to, unless we put in the time and research. So I encourage you to check out Rand Paul's most recent questioning of Anthony Fauci, and leaves Anthony Fauci a little bit flat footed. And what's interesting during that question answer section that I most recently heard is that Anthony Fauci is asked something to the effect about immunology. And Anthony Fauci's response is, I wrote the chapter in the book about that. And if you watched last night, or you've seen my previous video on ethical principles of medical mandates, one of the things I cover is the argumentum ad verecundium, which is appeal to authority. In other words, he's saying, you should believe me just because I wrote a chapter in a book, rather than going to the actual concerns, or I should say the actual objective information he can provide to show that he's truly an expert in that area. He just says, I wrote a chapter. Big deal. You know, how long ago was that? And did your chapter have anything to do with Rand Paul's questioning? And it didn't. So anyway, he often appeals to authority. His authority as an appointed official, his authority as a doctor, his authority as having written a chapter on it, rather than actually answering the question. Oh, you can't hear me. Oh. Here I have been just prattling on. Let me see what's going on here. How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? All right. All right, you can see me talking. I'm going to end this stream. Ciao.